Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we explain why de-radicalization programs are needed to de-radicalize mainstream Israeli society. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Trump's so-called peace plan is not a plan for peace, because it does not guarantee Palestinian statehood, and nor does it promise a right of return for 7 million Palestinian refugees. It's merely an ultimatum delivered with the threat of further bloodshed and suffering, and a vow to expand and entrench Israel's illegal occupation in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. This peace plan is nothing more than political cover for an ongoing genocide, a reality that even Israeli newspapers acknowledge, with one Zionist outlet essentially telling its readers, "Don't worry, Netanyahu won't abide by Trump's peace deal anyway." It describes the proposal as lip service meant to buy time and secure political maneuvering. It's just more of the same lies and stalling tactics Palestinians have endured for decades.
We had 75,000 illegal settlers in 1991. Today we have 750,000 settlers. Israel controls, occupies, commits genocide more than ever before in history throughout those 30 years of so-called peace process.
The very first point of the peace plan states that Gaza will be a de-radicalized terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors, which is a blatant attempt to invert reality on its head by convincing you that the victims of this genocide, the Palestinians, are the perpetrators, when in reality the guilty party includes Israeli military leaders, Israeli soldiers, and the general Israeli population, remembering that 82% of Israelis wish for Palestinians to be permanently cleansed from Gaza. Now, as for posing a threat to its neighbors, Gaza has never invaded any country other than Israel, the one that illegally occupies and blockades Palestine, a right afforded to Palestinians under international law. Israel, on the other hand, has invaded or bombed 7 countries during the past year alone, including Palestine, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, Iran, Qatar, and Jordan. So you tell me who is a threat to their neighbors and who isn't. And then tell me who is committing genocide and who isn't. Well, the answer is obvious, at least according to the United Nations and every human rights organization that has accused Israel of committing genocide and violating the sovereign borders of 1/2 countries. But this is a point I want to come back to, where the peace plan says Gaza will be de-radicalized. De-radicalized? What on earth are we talking about? Since when did the victims of a genocide need de-radicalization and not their killers? I mean, when the Allied forces liberated Auschwitz, Treblinka, and hundreds of other concentration camps throughout Europe in 1945, they didn't adopt and implement de-radicalization programs for Jewish Holocaust survivors. Instead, they rightly sought justice by holding their Nazi predators accountable for genocide. In other words, we de-radicalize Nazis, not their victims.
The Allies need to undo years of Nazi indoctrination and prove to the German people that everything they have believed in and been acting on is wrong.
The Allies decide that they need to adopt a program of denazification. They need to re-educate the German people.
This is a huge challenge and will take time. The country is under military occupation, governed by regional commanders with differing agendas. A uniform nationwide approach is needed. The Allies decide to implement a 3-point plan. First, they abolish the Nazi Party.
Crowds gather in the marketplace to hear Allied orders, to read the Allied proclamations disbanding the Nazi Party, Nazi laws and institutions.
Secondly, they need to identify its criminal members. Finally, they need to bring its leaders to justice. But this
Justice will never be delivered to Palestinian genocide survivors until their Zionist perps are held accountable for committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. Therefore, a denazification or de-radicalization program for Zionist officials and the general Israeli population is absolutely required. And I mean immediately after Israeli leaders are tried and hung at The Hague for their war crimes. Because as this headline says in bold letters, The problem isn't just Netanyahu, it's Israeli society.
You gave me a button to just erase Gaza. Every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow. I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis
if that's the choice, yeah.
Yeah.
מה החלום?
לשים פה חצובה עם מג, להיכנס לעזה, להרוג את כולם. את כולם להרוג. זה החלום.
בזמן מלחמה, לפי דעתך. לא? אפילו ילדים?
לאף אחד.
לאף אחד? הילדים ימותו.
שמישהו אחר ידאג להם. העולם שדואג להם, שידאג.
לא, אבל זה לא אנחנו שנותנים את האוכל.
לא מגיע להם.
להעיף אותם, להשמיד אותם עד האחרון בהם.
את מי להשמיד? את
כן, את הפלסטינאים, את כולם, מה אני רואה?
אוקיי.
אין בן אדם אחד, אין עץ אחד, אין בית אחד, ואם הייתי יכול את הדגים בים, הייתי מרעיל, אני אומר לך ככה, בסדר? כולם אויב שם. הילד שנולד שם אתמול ברפיח...
הוא אויב?
ברור, הוא אויב.
This is how ordinary and mainstream Israeli Jews speak about Palestinians in public. So take a moment to imagine what they sound like when they know the rest of the world isn't listening. These are terrorists, violent terrorists, who are in desperate need of deradicalization.
النكبة الثانية عن طريق قطع تقول النكبة الثانية מחנה פליטים תקום.
This insatiable hunger to kill Palestinians and Arabs comes from decades of illegally occupying and stealing their land and natural resources while ruling over them with a brutal system of apartheid and oppression. Israeli kids are taught from the youngest of ages to shoot toy guns at imaginary Palestinian targets, and then eventually real guns at real Palestinian people. This is what summer camp looks like for Zionist Jews. The education system can only be described as a conveyor belt for violence and hate.
מה קורה כשאתם רואים ילד ערבי? מה אתם מרגישים?
מרגישות זעם.
זעם? מה קורה כשאתם פוגשים ילד חילוני?
מרחם עליו שגם אני חרדים.
למה אתה מרחם עליו שלא נולד חרדי? מה הוא מפסיד?
הוא לא הולך לדבר.
כשאתם חושבים על ירושלים בעוד 10 שנים.
כולם חרדים.
כולם חרדים?
לא כולם ערבים, חלק חרדים.
כולם יהודים, ויש גם ערבים שהם עבדים.
תהיה משיח, הבנתי, כן, מה אתה אומר?
שמלחמה כל הערבים ימותו, וחלק מהם יהיו עבדים.
The Israeli education, or rather indoctrination system, is designed to sustain and entrench the Israeli occupation by producing a merciless and shameless killing machine known as the Israeli Defense Force. It's why Israeli soldiers so shamelessly upload videos of their atrocities and war crimes to social media platforms, where they expectedly receive high fives and applause for slaughtering innocent Palestinian children.
Social media might not be real life, but through what we post, we curate our own versions of reality, what we want others to see. So what does it tell us when Israeli soldiers are willingly, and in some cases gleefully, posting videos of themselves committing what many experts consider war crimes?
This was a crime committed in plain sight. It was a crime that Israeli soldiers posted videos about as they did it. Israeli politicians announced it beforehand. The Israeli public and Israeli media cheered them on.
Here's a challenge. Find me just one article in the mainstream media that calls for the de-radicalization of Israeli society. I'll save you the effort. You can't. But what you will find is wall-to-wall coverage of American media outlets urging for the de-radicalization of Palestinians, the victims of an actual Israeli genocide. And the reason for this is obvious. It's because Israel has spent billions of dollars on propaganda meant to convince you that Islam is synonymous with terrorism, and therefore it's Muslims who need de-radicalization, not Zionist Jews, who are the real terrorists of occupied Palestine. A fact not even lost on Queen Elizabeth, who described Israelis as exactly that. She understood that Zionist religious leaders are weapons of war, a communication war designed to convince non-Zionist Jews to adopt Zionism's perverted nationalistic beliefs.
עזה, וכל ילד בעזה צריך למות מרעב. בושה וחרפה.
שבכלל במדינה שלנו מדברים על ילדים רעבים בעזה. בושה וחרפה שאנשים בחודשים בודדים שכחו מה עברנו פה בשביעי לעשירי. כל עזה וכל ילד בעזה צריך למות מרעב. כי מה שעושים עכשיו העזתים לחטופים, הם מרעיבים אותם ומתעללים בהם. ואל תשכחו שילד שנמצאים בעזה.
The good news is a record number of Jews are breaking away from Zionism. They are being de-radicalized by former Zionists, including influential Jewish American journalists like Naomi Klein, who now describe Zionism as a false idol that takes our most profound biblical stories of justice and emancipation from slavery, the story of Passover itself, and turns them into brutalist weapons of colonial land theft, roadmaps for ethnic cleansing and genocide. Here's celebrated Israeli historian Avi Shleim to describe his transformation from Zionist to anti-Zionist.
Because after the June 67 war, there was a convergence of secular Zionism with religious Zionism, and with a commitment to keep the West Bank, or to give it its biblical names, Judea and Samaria. And Zionism was never static. It kept evolving. And now, today, I dissociate myself completely with Zionism as expressed by the Netanyahu government. I reject it totally because it is a racist ideology and a racist program.
So indeed, Zionists can be de-radicalized of their violent attitudes and beliefs. But standing in the way is the vast amount of influence and coercion Israeli money buys. And right now, it's on a spending spree to win back support of the American public, which has fallen out of love with the Zionist state and in love with the Palestinians. It's paying hand-selected American social media influencers $7,000 to post content that supports Israeli lies and false narratives, while also spending millions of dollars more to train ChatGPT to be more pro-Israel. Without lies, Israel dies, which is why it's spending so much money on suppressing the truth and suppressing content like ours. Remembering that the Israeli government pressured YouTube into fully demonetizing our channel 2 weeks ago, along with tens of thousands of others who counter and expose Israel's criminality, which means our survival is solely dependent upon those who kindly and generously support our team via membership on Patreon. For this reason, we kindly ask you please join them in supporting our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain and grow the show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.